So we have a couple different options for layout for a welding cart. To have two bottles here, you pretty much have to go beside the welder. You can put them behind, but then you're wider than the welder anyway. So you may as well put them aside. And then you have two different options for where your wheels can go. If you want a dolly cart, you can have your fixed wheels on this side and tilt it back this way to roll it around. But then your leads stick out the front and you have hoses and stuff sticking out the back. So it's a little bit wide to go through doorways. The other option is to put the wheels here and tip it this way, and then it's narrower to go through doorways and stuff. So the idea is the welder's going to be up a little bit, caught on stuff, but probably about there. So we're going to have handles here and wheels that you can tip it back to roll it, caster wheels in the front for rolling it around the shop, space for two bottles here, storage underneath the welder for helmet, gloves, whatever, and extra rolls of wire at the back, and probably a shelf up here, maybe a drawer in it for consumables. I'm not quite sure yet. That's the idea. We'll see how it works out. Progress so far, we've got a rolling cart thing. I've got caster wheels in the front. I'll have links for all this stuff. These are 3-inch casters, steel casters for McMaster car. They're actually only like 15 bucks a piece. I thought they'd be worse. Just some 1/4-inch plate here, drilled and tapped, hold the casters. And these wheels, I have no idea what they are exactly. I got them. Some guys at work put an air compressor on a service truck, and the wheels were in the air compressor, so they gave me the wheels. So I have no idea what they are, what they cost, or anything. But need a handle here. I just cut out this plate. I think it's 1/8 inch, so it's a little bit overkill. But for the bottle mount, I'm gonna try and bend this edge. Actually, it goes like this. I'm gonna try and bend this edge down to give it a little more stiffness this way, so when you put the bottle on, it doesn't sag in the middle, which, I mean, I don't think it would anyway, but I don't know. We'll do it just because. Here we go. I just wired this radio up with one of these cheap Chinese Bluetooth thingies. Stole power off of the radio's power supply to power the thing. Now I have Bluetooth radio in the shop. Anyway, back in the cart. It's been so long since I worked on this thing, I don't remember what I talked about last, but there's its current state. I do need to cut this axle off and flip it around because I welded it on the wrong way, and I think this side needs extended a little bit to fit this cabinet that needs welded together that I cut and bent last night. I guess you just saw a little bit of that. Water jet's terrible nice. Anyway, I'm really not sure why I'm in here working on this today, because we have enough snow to snowmobile. This is the Primeweld MIG285, and I was just having trouble with the gun. Like, you'd let go of the trigger and the wire would keep coming out, so the trigger was sticking. So I took it apart and looked at it, and this, like, these crimps in here don't have insulation on, and this top one was turned that the back of the crimp was touching the bottom one. So if you have that issue, just turn it over to the side and tighten it, and hopefully that is good now. But my spot welds, horrible idea. Like half of them already broke. I can probably just like that top one's broke. Half of these broke. It's terrible. I don't know. I should have riveted it maybe. Really not sure quite what the best way is to attach all this, but don't do that, because that doesn't work. So I have to figure something out. I'll probably weld it in a couple places here and on the inside. I don't know, we'll have to see. It's a bit of a mess. So the back part there looks like it's gonna work good. I just need to flip the axle around so it's long enough. But somewhere along the line, I got the wrong number. Cause see, this is 25, and I made it 35. So I'm gonna have to whack 10 inches out of there somewhere. So that's gonna be fun. But anyway, good learning experiences. Measure twice, cut once. Or cut twice and it's still too short. Got my stuff from McMaster car, hinges and latches and weather stripping and whatnot. Looks like that's gonna work pretty good. Get that finished up today. Jake wanted me to weld this together for mud flap holder for his pickup, so we'll see what I can do with that. My TIG skills are still up to par if I've gotten rusty. Making progress in this thing. I got all my little tabs welded on here to hold the cabinet on. Got a hook, put a handle on the back. Oh, I had to cut when I welded these axles on. Well, I guess I did all right when I welded them on here, but then I welded this on, I don't know, backwards or upside down or something. So my axles were on this plane offset to the front instead of on this plane offset to the top. So I had to move this one out anyway to clear my cabinet, so I cut them off and welded them back on the right spot. Of course, I moved my TIG welder off of this cart over to the other side of the shop so that I had a spot to put this one to work on the cart. So I had to bring that one back over here to weld this and then do something with it, put it away until this cart's done. Anyway, onward. That looks horrible. I had no idea how hard that is with a camera in your face. Anyway, well, fix where I blew through there, and it looks like it warped a little bit, so I have to flatten that out and clean this thing out. Well, the weld is pretty sus. It's stuck together, it's not coming apart, it just doesn't look very nice. And the finish, yeah, it's kind of the way it is. I didn't have any sanding discs for my 5-inch sander, hook and loop sanding discs. So I thought I could get away with using a die grinder and a Scotch-Brite wheel, but apparently it, yeah, You gotta have something orbital. You can't have something that goes around with anything that coarse to polish, or it just looks ugly. But, really, finishing this stainless at all is kind of overkill. I think this is a fender, or not a fender, a mud flap mount for his pickup, he was saying, so it doesn't really matter that much. I don't think I'm ready to do stainless TIG on this thin of stuff for paying customers yet, though. It's atrocious. Anyway. Grandpa had me weld these brackets for the wheel horse. They're drilled out nuts. I'm not quite sure what they're for, but something for a shaft or something underneath this thing. I've never done cabinet doors before. I have no idea what I'm doing or how to design this or anything, but what I came up with is this hinge. It has to get shortened a little bit and holes drilled in here. It's going to go behind that and get bolted so that the lid is a little bit of adjustability to press against this weather seal the right amount. What I don't know is if it matters if that's adjustable or if I can just weld it at one spot and it'll just be fine, but I don't know. I designed it so it's adjustable, so I guess I'll build it that it's adjustable. But then this part here, there's like no good way to do this. With bigger stuff, I think you could stick the hinge against the flange here and keep it under the weather stripping, but it just didn't seem like it would work out nicely for this. So I think what I'm going to do is trim this part off, and then I need a little bit of a spacer behind the hinge. Just weld it fast to the face, and then the door can bolt fast to the hinges. I don't know. That's what I have in mind. That's all the better I could come up with. So I guess we'll build it and see what happens. This might actually work. If it's squished down a little bit where I want it, the little spacer under there, welded in. Then we have adjustment for if the weather stripping wears, or theoretically, there's enough slot here that if I don't have weather stripping, it should go down against the face. Should be able to adjust it down against the face, and it should seal decently well enough for this. Got my hinges welded on here. It's a little bit sus, but I'm not sure quite how else to do it. There's enough space under them. There's the thickness of the steel plus a little bit, so there's enough space that the door can go open 90 degrees. Got my weather stripping on here. Let's bolt the door up, I guess, and see what that looks like. Now, how in the world does this thing work? When I dimensioned this away from the side here, where it's supposed to latch underneath, I took the measurement from the center to the end of this instead of, like, I didn't leave any room for this to latch under the side. So it comes to about there, and it'll hook in the weather stripping on the way up, but it won't, like, it's not in far enough to actually hook in the cabinet. So what I'm going to have to do is make, it's also not offset quite right, it needs to be down just a hair more. So I'm just going to plasma cut one of these, not this fancy hole, I'll just do a square hole. Plasma cut one of these, bend it offset, and we'll see what happens. Got my whole pile of bottle mounts cut out. I think I cut 2 or 3 extra, but they'll go kind of on the bottle like this, and then there'll be a pin through to another one down below with a 1-inch strap, cam strap that goes around the bottle. So I have one jigged up over here. These Fireball shims are great. Way overcomplicated jig up, but it's the first way I thought to do it. But we're an inch, should be an inch from here, or 2 inches from here, and a 1/4 inch off of this side of the tube. So I'll weld that one on and see what happens. I think that's gonna work. I'll put it all in CAD for the next one to make sure all my bottle sizes work out, but that looks pretty good to me. I think I can get the larger size bottle on there yet if I wanted to. Yeah. So I'll weld the rest on, and I'll have to get to Harbor Freight sometime to get some cam straps. But we're getting closer. So this is 100% my fault because I didn't have it together right. But if you are getting welds that just don't seem like you're getting any shielding gas, just a bunch of porosity, make sure this is seated properly, because I think it was out like that, just that the O-ring was almost showing, and so all my gas is escaping there. So make sure that's seated fully up against, should look like that, should be right up against each other, and lock this thing down good, and that should fix the problem. Getting closer. So all these guys, the purpose of them is to have straps. I might get cam straps. They're a little easier than ratchet straps. But I'll take the hooks out, and then you can just put a bolt through the loop of the strap and tie the bottle fast. For there, room for 2 bottles. Should be enough room for 300 or 330 or whatever they are, the big bottles. I haven't decided quite what I'm going to do here. I want to make grinder hooks or something to hang grinders here maybe, or welding helmets. I'm not quite sure yet. I have to figure that out. And I'll probably put another hook here for the ground cable. I just bent some loops to put these hooks through. Gonna weld them on there and on the back, run the strap up across the top to hold it on. So I did 2 at once. I'll cut it off there, and then I'll have 2 half circles to weld onto the frame. So I put gun holder here, hook for ground clamp, got pliers, MIG pliers mount. There is space for grinders over here. The center one kind of has to hang between these two. Probably move them apart a little bit in the next one so the battery fits better there. But yeah, it's coming together. I can't believe it. I forgot to paint the door, so this needs another coat yet. But the other 2 pieces are done, so let's get this thing assembled. Well, my door finally dried, so I can put the weather stripping and stuff on. It's about 3 foot 9 inches of this weather stripping. I got it off McMaster car. And I never finished painting the latch. So this is the current state of the welding cart. I've been using it here. It's been great. You have grinder storage here, helmet, rack. I'm gonna make a rack over here, probably 2 racks for clamps. Like that. Welder strapped on nice and secure, it can't fall off. I have a box of grinding wheels setting right here. Bottom was nice and secure on there. This storage for the gun was really nice. And I'll often, if I'm working on something close to the welder, I'll leave a wrap on here so I don't have the whole cord on the floor. MIG pliers. This cabinet is great. You can see the custom latch on there. So the orientation of this is purposeful. Most doors, like just normal entry doors, when they're locked, they're horizontal, and when they're unlocked, the little tab thing is vertical. And righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So that's the idea behind that. The door only opens 90 degrees, which is a little annoying, but it's kind of how it is with the way I designed it. Got a stinger in there, adapters, wire, there's a spool gun in there, manuals, welding lenses it looks like. It's nice to have a clean spot to store extra stuff. And then I just have the Primeweld settings chart with a magnet inside here. This cabinet is great, but on the next one, I would either drill the holes out a little bit for the spot welds, make them bigger. On this one, I had the holes too small, and I wasn't getting enough penetration in the back piece, so they were cracking. So I drilled them out in the top, and that worked better. Or just bring the two pieces together and weld the corner and grind it flush. And that would honestly probably not be any more work. The hinges over here and the next one, I would probably just put on the outside. It's really not worth it, I don't think, to do it the way I did. Just too much of a pain. You can see I have a board underneath the bottle so that it's high enough that the strap catches. So then if I would move that down, I would also want to move this down a little bit. And this is spaced between this rail so that for these Milwaukee grinders, the corner of the battery hits the rail. With a flathead it doesn't, but just, I don't know, makes the grinder hang more vertically. Other than that, I really like having separate hooks for my ground cable and torch cable. That way they don't get tangled up with each other. And this, having a spot for a MIG pliers here, designated spot that you can grab it easy, is also really nice. The plans and BOM for this cart will be available for free in the description below, so go check that out. And if you do build one, I would love to see pictures of it. So join my Signal group or drop a comment below and let me know how your build went. That's all for me for now, so may the Lord bless you, and I'll see you next time.